Good morning or afternoon to anyone who has decided to join us today. I want to start off by saying thank you for taking the time out of your day to come join us or hang out with us and listen to a little bit about what us Edgewood nursing students have prepared for you today about how you can manage your stress after life-altering events. I'm Lauren.
I'm Ashley.
I'm Sophia.
I'm Faith.
I'm Emma.
I'm Abigail.
I'm Bailey.
Awesome. So on the next slide, awesome. In this presentation today, we're going to just talk about how stress shows up in our lives and more importantly, how we can manage it in a healthy and practical way. We'll start by looking at what life-altering transitions really are and why they can be so impactful. Then we'll explore the stress cycle, how stress builds and moves through the body. We'll also go over common physical and mental signs of stress so you can recognize them in yourself and others. From there, we'll focus on strategies for managing stress, including simple tools that you can use in your everyday life. And finally, we'll end with a few mindfulness exercises that you can start using right away. Our goal today is to not only just give you information, but to provide you with helpful tools and ways to take care of yourself during these challenging times. So we wanted to just kind of start off this presentation by taking a minute to just be mindful. I am going to start a timer. Please feel free to do whatever you need to feel the most relaxed, and I will let you know when that minute is up. Alrighty, time is up. Okay, so before we can even dive into the stress itself, I think it's really important that we understand what we're talking about when we refer to life-altering events. So these, excuse me, these are experiences that will significantly impact a person's psychological and emotional state. They really can reshape how someone sees themselves, their relationship, and their future. Some common examples of these life-altering events would include situations like a divorce, losing a job, re-entering society after incarceration, experiencing trauma or abuse, relocation, coping with the death of a loved one, receiving a serious medical diagnosis, and so many more. These events can be either expected, like a planned move, or completely unexpected, like a sudden loss or an illness. But regardless of how predictable or unpredictable they often carry a very heavy emotional weight. And because of that, they're really strongly linked to increased levels of stress, anxiety, and depression. So this is where early intervention really comes into play and is so, so important. Recognizing the impact of, or recognizing these impacts early on can really help people access the support that they need. It can help them build your coping strategies, and it can prevent stress from becoming overwhelming and debilitating.
All right, hello. My name is Emma, another one of the students. I'm going to be diving a little bit deeper into what stress is and the stress cycle itself. Stress can be described in many ways, but the main definition that I found is a state of worry or mental tension. Stress can affect us both physically and mentally. Having small amounts of stress can be good, though, for us with getting tasks done throughout the day, but prolonged stress is where it can become a problem if we don't fix the stressor and work on it to improve it. There are three main forms of stress, which can include routine, such as demands of work, school, family, or money, stress from sudden changes, like what Lauren was saying earlier, divorce, illness, job loss. And then there's also traumatic stress, which is what happens when you're in danger. So, like if there was a flood or a tornado, kind of events like that. Long-term stress can impact our bodies in negative ways, such as getting sick more often, having trouble sleeping, having trouble digesting our foods, and often feeling sad or upset. During this presentation today, kind of like Lauren was saying, we'll talk about ways to decrease stress and give mindful activities that you can use when you're feeling that way. Our bodies have a nervous system, which is the body's main command and communication network for the brain, spinal cord, and nerves, which is kind of what the photo on the left side of the screen is showing. Our parasympathetic nervous system is designed to help us rest and digest. During this times, our bodies are slowing down. And it's kind of like our body working behind the scenes to do tasks we don't do during times of stress. With that being said, our heart rates tend to decrease, our bodies digest our foods, and then we maintain our energy. The sympathetic nervous system is what our presentation will be kind of covering today. The sympathetic nervous system is also known as the fight or flight response, which is where our body is on high alert. During this time, our heart rate increases, our blood pressure increases, and the digestion of our foods decrease. This allows all of the blood to go to vital organs, such as the heart and brain, to get you out of a stressful situation. Our brains and bodies respond by releasing hormones to put us in fight or flight mode. And this mode increases the heart rate, breathing rate, and blood pressure, like I said. And it also, again, decreases that digestion and non essential organ functions. So, next, diving into what the stress cycle is. The medical researcher A.Z. Redzik states that the stress cycle is a resting state, there's a tension and strain phase, a response change phase, which can be both passive or active, a relief phase, which is both physiological and psychological. And with it being a cycle, it ends again with the resting ground phase, with the cycle being fully complete, which is the goal. Not completing the stress cycle with beneficial coping mechanisms can prime the body for additional stresses later on, which can lead to a breakdown. If the stress cycle isn't completed, it means that we're still experiencing that stress and we haven't given ourselves the chance to recover from it or to tell ourselves that the danger is past. Thus, we are living in a hyper-aware state that stress puts us through, which can lead to increased sensitivity to any additional stressors that we may encounter during this time. This is a physiological response when our bodies are faced with stressors. It can be anything from an exam deadline or even just meeting somebody new. It helps us deal with the stress response by activating our fight or flight response, which is the release of stress hormones, adrenaline, and cortisol. And just a little tidbit on what those two hormones are. Adrenaline is a stress hormone that's created, and it helps to increase our heart rate, blood pressure, and breathing. And then cortisol is the primary stress hormone, and this hormone is also released by the adrenal gland, and it prepares the body for fight or flight by increasing blood sugar, regulating metabolism. Ideally, the stressor completes itself and you either get a good grade or you become friends with this new person, and the stress response resolves. Unfortunately, a lot of modern life is dealing with stress quite often, so it's hard to complete the stress cycle. If the stress response is unfinished and we're left with these hormones floating around in our bodies, we can be left being in a prolonged heightened state, and our digestive and immune systems become suppressed, and we can be left with illnesses and other situations. There are ways to complete the stress cycle, and it's not a completely lost cause. I know my friends here are going to chat more about this. But just some really quick examples. Physical activity can help metabolize stress hormones. Creative activities, such as finding a hobby, can help provide a space to process emotions. And then crying or laughing is just a natural way to get out the processing emotions and everything to release tension. And then resting and recovering is vital to complete the stress cycle as well. Stress is not something that our bodies should be dealing with all the time, but sometimes we do. As people, we're in a constant state of stress, whether it be thinking about rent being due or an upcoming assignment. Our bodies react to stress the same way. This presentation will help to continue to give you ways to adapt and strengthen your stress response so we can lower that level.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Ashley again, and I'm going to be talking about what even is our nervous system. So, our nervous system is extremely important when it comes to talking about stress, as it essentially controls our whole body and what our body does. So, there's three major parts within the nervous system, like the photo on the left. It's your brain, your spinal cord, and then all your other nerves throughout your body. Our spinal cord and brain are part of the central nervous system. The brain's the holder of the information, telling us what we can and can't do. And the spinal cord is essentially a large bundle of nerves which delivers information to the brain. Since we live in Wisconsin, think of an example of where you're not wearing gloves and you stick your hand in snow. Your spinal cord sends a signal to the brain, telling your brain that your hand's in something cold, and then your brain tells you to take your hand out of the snow since it's really cold. The other major part of our nervous system is the peripheral nervous system, which is all the other nerves within the body, like in the photo, like in your arms and legs, which help also carry messages and deliver messages to the brain or spinal cord. This part of the system can also help with muscle movements. If we want to pick up something or wave our hands, our nerves send a message to the brain, allowing us to do that action. Both systems work together to help make our nervous system function. Even though we may not know it, our nervous system is always working, even when we are sleeping. While sleeping, it sends messages to allow us to breathe and for our heart to beat. And then in the next slide, I will be diving more in depth about, like Emma was talking about, the sympathetic system, about our fight versus flight, and why it's part of our nervous system. So this photo kind of demonstrates what happens during our flight or flight response. It's known as our sympathetic nervous system. This system is our body's alarm that something is wrong and is trying to protect us from danger and helps us prepare our body. So think about a situation where someone was approached by a bear. Would your reaction to be run away, which would be my reaction, which would be your flight response, or would you defend yourself against the bear, which would be your fight response? Even though facing a wild animal like this is unlikely, it still works the same way for stress. A lot of people can have this response when having to speak in front of people or even speaking publicly. I mean, I have this response when we have to present stuff in front of our class. Even though nothing bad is happening, my body's trying to protect me. So the flight side of it would be me wanting to not present or do anything to avoid having to go up and present in front of everyone. Whereas the fight aspect would be myself recognizing that yes, I'm scared to do it, but I can push through and present in front of people. During the fight response, your body is preparing to face the situation at hand, and your body does that by preparing your body in a few different ways. It increases your heart rate to increase blood flow to the muscles. It increases your breathing pattern to allow for more oxygen into your lungs, and it helps release adrenaline to give us energy to get through the situation. All of these changes are good because your body is preparing you to stand up to the situation and is giving you enough oxygen, energy, and blood to be able to do it. Whereas your flight response does many of the same things, except really the main difference is that you're trying to avoid the situation.
Hmm. Hi again, I'm Abigail, and I'm just going to be talking a little bit about some of the physical, mental, and behavioral signs of stress. So, stress doesn't just affect your mind, it also affects your body. When you're really stressed, your body starts to tense up, And this can lead to things like headaches, sore muscles, or even some chest pain. Some people start to feel their heart racing, and a lot of times other people feel tired all the time, even if they've gotten enough sleep at night. Stress can also affect your stomach and your sleep. So you might get stomach aches or have a hard time falling asleep or staying asleep at night. Over time, this can wear your body down and it makes you easier or more susceptible to getting sick. And for some people, stress can also affect our hormones, and this can lead to changes in things like your period or your sex drive. And these are common ways that our bodies react to stress. It doesn't mean that something is wrong with you. It just means that your body is trying to handle a lot all at once. But if these symptoms keep happening or start to feel too overwhelming, that's a sign for you to slow down, check in with yourself, and reach out for support if you need it. So, some mental signs of stress. So, it can also affect the way that we think or feel. You might notice a lack of motivation, like things you normally care about feel harder to start or to finish. It can also be hard to focus even on simple tasks because your mind feels busy or distracted. And a lot of people feel overwhelmed when they're stressed, like things piling up all at once. And this can also show up as feeling more irritable, snapping at people more easily, or just feeling frustrated with small things. Some people may feel sad or down, and others may feel restless, like they can't relax or they can't sit still. And these are all common reactions to stress. It's your mind just trying to handle a lot all at once. And then some stress-related behaviors. These can show up a lot of the time without us even realizing that they're happening. And you might notice things like fidgeting more or clenching your jaw without thinking about it. Some people bite their nails or pick at their skin when they're feeling more anxious or overwhelmed. Stress can also affect our eating habits. You may eat more than usual, or you might not feel like eating at all. Both of these are just common reactions to how our body can handle stress. And another big one is pulling away from others. When you're stressed, it can feel easier to be alone, even though sometimes when you need support the most. And then these are just some behaviors that your body uses to cope with the stress, even if they aren't always helpful. Noticing them is an important first step because once you're aware of them, you can start to make small changes and find healthier ways to cope.
Okay, hi, my name's Bailey. Faith and I are going to begin talking a little bit about some mindfulness techniques that you can use in your day-to-day life. So I just like this graphic because it shows that mindfulness is used for a wide variety of things. For example, addiction, anger, personality disorders, anxiety, and depression. Okay, so I'm going to give some examples of some mindfulness techniques that are good for your brain. These are things that can be done when you're feeling generally stressed or if you're suddenly finding yourself in panic mode. So first, deep breathing. So just inhale slowly through the nose, exhale slowly through the mouth. It's recommended to do this for 5 to 10 minutes every day, but even just a couple of deep breaths could also be really beneficial. Controlled box breathing. So inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4, exhale for 4, and then hold for 4, and then repeat. This is recommended to do for about 1 to 5 minutes. Another one is sensory awareness. So this is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method. So identify 5 things you see, 4 things you can touch, 5 things you can hear, two things you can smell, and one thing that you can taste. And this kind of just helps re-ground you if you're in a panic mode. The next is a body scan. So you can close your eyes and bring awareness to each part of your body. Normally, you start with your toes and then you kind of just go all the way up and end with your head and kind of just think about what sensations you're feeling in your body. So when you're doing those, if you notice any intrusive thoughts coming to your head, you can acknowledge those thoughts without judgment and then imagine them as leaves kind of floating down a stream and leaving your brain. Another thing is journaling. So, journaling can help relieve stress by acting as an emotional release, which allows you to process intense feelings, identify stressors, and reduce stress. So, by documenting your thoughts, feelings, and experiences, you can gain new perspectives and reduce that fight or flight response, like Ashley was talking about earlier. In addition, putting thoughts on paper helps declutter the mind, allowing you to organize, prioritize, and or find solutions to problems. Personally, when I journal, I like to picture like my thoughts and anxiety like physically leaving my body as I'm writing them on the page. Next thing, limiting screen time. So personally, I have a really hard time reducing my screen time. I find myself nonstop scrolling, or I like to call it like doom scrolling. To help myself lower the amount of time staring at my screen, I'll often like delete my social medias for a chunk of time. And this gives me no choice but to focus on other things. So, limiting your screen time reduces stress by minimizing digital stimulation, which lowers your cortisol levels, which was talked about earlier, the stress hormone, and it decreases feelings of anxiety and inadequacy. In addition, limiting your screen time can improve sleep quality by boosting your face-to-face connections. It can free up time for more physical activity that will naturally boost your mood. And it also reduces blue light, which is a whole other conversation, but that's something that comes off of your phone that's not the best for you. Okay, here I just have some effective journaling techniques. So, first of all, this picture on the screen, there's certain journaling books that you could like buy if you wanted, that kind of walk you through different prompts that have been really helpful for some people. But some other techniques like stream of consciousness, so that's kind of writing whatever comes to your mind without editing, which can help release pent-up emotions. There's gratitude journaling, so that's just listing positive things in your life or about yourself. Goal and task mapping, which would just be using bullet points to organize your thoughts or things you need to accomplish, which can help clear your head a little bit. And just 10 to 20 minutes of daily writing is often sufficient to experience positive benefits. Um, yeah.
Hi guys. My name is Faith, and I also just wanted to add, in addition to mindful strategies, I think it's really important that we support our bodies as well when managing stress. So not only can we manage stress mentally through like breathing and journaling, we can also do a lot of things to manage stress for our body. Simple things like spending time outside. This could be spending time in the nature, using grounding techniques, just going for long walks or hikes, or even just spending like 10 minutes outside with direct sunlight can all really help decrease our stress levels, as well as exercising. It doesn't have to be some intense lifting weights or going for 10-mile run. We can just walk and meditate. We can do yoga or even stretching. All are really helpful for managing stress. Nutrition, that also plays a role. So staying hydrated. It sounds really simple, but it can be tricky at times. So just drinking enough water and just eating balanced meals without distractions and just kind of staying in the present when fueling your body. Um, Daily routines, so single tasking, doing a gratitude list, reading, or having a calm environment, such as like lighting a candle, using essential oils, dimming the light. A lot of these things can also benefit us in reducing our stress. So, just adding one of those things in your daily routines can be super helpful. Sleep, just it's really important to limit screen time before bed, and it can be really hard. You could try implementing like maybe reading 10 minutes before bed or journaling. And even if you're not tired, just practice setting your phone down at a certain time every night just to kind of train your mind. And avoiding obviously caffeine late at night and just providing yourself with a calm sleep environment. Um, and lastly, human connections. Just practicing mindful listening and having healthy boundaries and staying present can really help benefit you and support emotional well being. So next, we're going to take a moment on the next slide, and I provided a video here that you can find on YouTube. This one is called just, I searched up 1 minute of mindfulness, and there's a variety of videos that you can actually use. It kind of just takes you through a minute of time and allows you to be present in the moment, and kind of just helps you relieve your stress through breathing techniques. And it just really helps you focus your mind and be present. And this is a good technique to use anytime you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed. So I really recommend this video to anybody who wants to try it out or wants to look up some minutes of mindfulness. And on our next slide, I just wanted to overview the everyday benefits of mindfulness. So, practicing mindfulness regularly has been very effective and has lots of benefits. It can improve focus and attention, which helps with daily tasks and responsibilities. It also reduces stress and burnout, which is especially important during major life transitions, and it can increase awareness and gives us kind of a greater sense of control over our thoughts and emotion by being more present. Um, since being able to managing that stress can help our mind kind of slow down a little bit and be more in the moment. And that also affects our mood and our energy. It eases anxiety, and overall, less stress can lead to better sleep, which is really important.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sophia, and I'm going to talk a little bit about building stability in daily life. A lot of times, stress gets worse when things feel unpredictable or out of our control. When your schedule is all over the place or you're not sure what your day is going to look like, it can make everything feel a little bit more overwhelming. That's where small routines can help. It doesn't have to be anything big or complicated, but even having a little bit of structure every day can give you a sense of control and make things feel more manageable. Some simple things to focus on are having consistent sleep and wake times, eating regular meals, and just creating a basic structure to your day. Even things like waking up around the same time or having one small routine in the morning or at night can make a big difference. And the biggest thing with this is to start small. You don't need to completely change your whole routine overnight. Even just picking one thing to be consistent with can help you start to feel a little more stable and in control. Um, Another helpful strategy when stress feels overwhelming is using healthy distractions. Sometimes when we're really stressed or anxious, our brains can get stuck in a loop of overthinking. In those moments, trying to force yourself to just stop thinking about it usually doesn't work. That's where distractions can actually be really helpful. It gives your brain a little break and allows you to reset a little bit before coming back to whatever it is that is stressing you out. Some examples of this could be listening to music or a podcast, watching a show, doing a hobby, or something simple like cleaning or organizing, or using any of those mindfulness techniques that we went over. The goal isn't to avoid your goal forever or avoid your problems forever, but it's just to give yourself a break in the moment so things don't feel as overwhelming. So taking that time to reset can really help reduce overthinking and make it easier to handle things later on. We want you to know that you don't have to manage stress alone. So a lot of times it might feel like you do, but there are lots of people and resources out there to help. Support looks different for everyone. So for some people, that might be friends or family, and for others, it might be more like a therapy or talking to another sort of healthcare professional. There are also lots and lots of community resources. One of those is like through NAMI, which offers things like peer support groups, recovery programs, and education. These can be really helpful because you're connecting with people who understand what you're going through. Another really important resource to know about is the 988 Lifeline, which is a free 24/7 support line that you can call or text in if you are in a crisis. I just want to emphasize that support really does look different for everyone, and that's okay. What works for you might not work for somebody else, and vice versa. But the important thing is knowing that you don't have to go through these things alone, and there are many options out there. All of this takes time. Managing stress isn't something that we just can fix overnight. It takes practice, and it's something that you build over time. Again, everyone is different, and that's okay. So you don't have to be perfect with any of this. Even small steps count, and progress doesn't have to look perfect. What works for you might also change over time, and that's normal. The biggest thing is just being patient with yourself and continuing to try different strategies over time. You're doing the best you can, and that's enough. So, to wrap things up, stress is something that everyone experiences, especially during major life changes. Throughout this presentation, we talked about what stress is, how it affects both the mind and the body, and different ways to manage it. The biggest thing we want you to take away is that even small strategies like building routines, practicing mindfulness, or reaching out for support can make a meaningful difference over time. It's also important to remember that you don't have to go through these things alone. There are people and resources available to support you. Remember to be patient with yourself. You got this. Thank you.